Hello, I'm Dr. Chris Walton. Now in this video I'm going to explain myself and my friend's experience when we did a heroic dose of magic mushrooms in silent darkness, and we literally travelled to new dimensions. We realised we were living in a simulation from the future, and we found out the meaning of life. Let's get to it. If you like the video, click the like button, leave a little comment and consider subscribing. Thank you. So the idea of the heroic dose comes from a guy called Terence McKenna, who was one of the early pioneers in the early 70s that went down to South America, to the Amazon, and worked there with the tribes and took some of the plant medicines and the ceremonies that they do, and really experienced some profound states of consciousness, and he brought that knowledge back. And one of the things that he said was something along the lines of, don't quote me exactly, but something along the lines of, if you want to know the truth, how life and the universe works, take 7 grams of psilocybin, magic mushrooms, in silent darkness. Now that had been on my mind for years. I've done a lot of altered state work, a lot of plant medicines, I've done a lot of stuff. My master's degree from 20 years ago, I did a master's degree in consciousness and transpersonal psychology, and my dissertation was how to create peak and mystical states of consciousness with guided imagery and sound technology. I did that as my dissertation. So I've got a lot of experience in altered states of consciousness, peak and mystical states, all that type of stuff. So I was ready for it, and I knew this was going to be big. I got a friend of mine to come with me, and most of my friends wouldn't do it because it's just not for everybody. You're really diving into the unknown. It's not like you're doing a meditation and then you can just stop and walk away, or anything like that. Once you've got 7 grams of psilocybin in your body, you just have to hold on, like for dear life, quite literally. So anyway, I had a friend of mine who's a Latvian guy, Eastern Bloc guy, very resilient, like those Eastern Bloc people are, certainly in my generation. Not much phases them. They've had a hard upbringing, so that they're pretty sort of solid mentally. So we did it. We ordered these mushrooms. Now, what the interesting thing is, we got them from Amsterdam. They came freeze packed. So this was actually 2007, I think, maybe 2008. So smartphones hadn't really taken off to the full yet. So this is important. Now, I had these mushrooms in the freezer for about 6 to 8 weeks. And it was something like mentally I had to build up to wrap my head around, right, we're going to do this, let's just do it. Anyway, the weeks rolled on, and we sort of kept pushing it back. And we both shared a flat in London. We had this nice flat. And so it came to the night, and it was just a spontaneous night. We were just both sitting in. We said, oh, fuck it, let's do it now, shall we? Yeah, let's do it. So we got these mushrooms out. So we opened the bag, and it was just a black, like freeze-dried, air-dried, freeze-dried bag. So there was no markings on it or anything. So as we pulled it back, we then quickly realised, we don't know the weight. We don't know the weight of the bag. What was the size of this package? We were like, oh, shit. And then we ain't got any scales. We're 2 guys that live together, none of us doing much cooking. And it wasn't like I could quickly go on my smartphone. This is the point I was making to get the order and stuff like that. I had to open up my computer and get back to it. And I thought, let's just see how this goes. So my friend Maris, he has the idea. He goes, let's just start eating them until we can't eat any more. Typical Eastern Blocker hardcore. So I thought, oh well, let's do that. So we're sitting in the lounge. This is in at my flat in Putney in West London. We're sitting in the lounge. And we got this big, we tear the bag open, it's like this black, freeze-dried pack. We open it, and the mushrooms are big, round things like that, solid. So we start munching them away, drinking the water, munching them away, drinking the water. We ate about half the pack, and then we just kept going. Then after about 15 minutes, we could start to feel like, ooh, God, I feel a bit like, like, visuals are starting to appear. I'm starting to feel a little bit wobbly in my body, and I'm like, So this is starting to kick in, Maris, right? So we just keep eating. We just keep eating these things. So it wasn't much past 20 minutes, I can tell you. And then all of a sudden, I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I went, dude, I've got to go and lie down. So I went from the lounge to my bedroom, which was about, 10, 15 meters, and we opened up the camp bed. The lounge was a sofa bed, so he lay on that. I said, right, dude, see you later. So I went to my bedroom, lay down, And oh my God, it was literally, if you imagine yourself as a bullet being shot out of a gun, and you're the bullet being shot out of a gun, and you imagine how fast you would go, that's what it was like going through all of the dimensions of all time, all space, everything that you ever could possibly believe in and beyond that. Just absolutely vast acceleration until there was no sense of Chris, there was no sense of sensation, physical sensation, there was no awareness of me as a physical body at all, nothing, like absolutely nothing. No thought, no feeling, no physical sensation, no emotion, nothing at all that I knew there was even a person called Chris Walton. I had left the fucking building, I had left the earth, I had left the solar system, I had left this universe into completely different dimensions. And that's about the long and short of it, because from that moment on, like, there was no recollection of me to sort of tell the story. All I remember then is being so far out, so far gone, that the whole, it's awkward to use the word universe, but the whole universe, dimensions, universe just felt like one continual thought. It just felt like it was a whole complete consciousness thinking machine. That's what it felt like it was. Everything was just thought and consciousness. Anyway, after about what actually transpired to be about 4 or 5 hours, probably 5 hours, I felt a sensation of something on the bed. Now, there wasn't an eye at the time to recognise anything, like, oh, Chris, I'm on the bed. There wasn't any of that. It was just, there was a sensation. And that sensation was the physical Chris wanting to go to the toilet. I wanted to pee. But there was no awareness of a Chris. There was no awareness of my body, of my thoughts, of my mind, of me, of my personality, of who I am. None of that. It was just, I was completely obliterated into this consciousness field. Anyway, so after a short time, I managed to sort of move a little bit on the bed. And as I moved, there was an awareness of sensation. I'm not saying I was aware I was on the bed, because I wasn't. There was an awareness of sensation, of weight and movement and touch on the back of the bed. And then after a short time, there was like a glimpse of something in my mind that managed to get me to roll off the bed and then start to crawl to the toilet, like commando style, on my chest, to crawl to the toilet. Now, where Maris was in the lounge to where I was probably actually 6-7 meters of a corridor. Excuse me. And the toilet was in between us. So it's a couple of 2 or 3 meters away. Now, you're not going to believe this. This is just going to sound too weird, but this is what happened. As I'm crawling and my eyes are sort of open, like, sort of semi-open, I could literally see through the wall in my flat. The wall that I'm looking at was just simply vibratory patterns of particles. That's what it was. And it was just like a complete vibration of particles that I was looking at, which allowed me to see through the wall out to the outer wall outside, and beyond then, again, just a vibration of particles. And I'm like, fucking hell, oh shit. And then that sort of brought me round a little bit to what was actually happening. Oh, I'm doing a mushroom trip. Oh shit, yeah, I remember now. And then I could hear Maris breathing and sort of lightly giggling in the lounge. And I just said to him, Maris, just keep breathing, mate. Just keep breathing, like that, Anyway, I managed to get on the toilet, and then I managed to crawl back to my bed, and it was gone, just like gone. No Chris, no sensation, no emotion, no feeling, no thought, no touch, no temperature, no 5 sensory experience. Fucking gone. Gone into consciousness thought world, Anyway, that went on for a while, and it was just so out of this world, universe, dimension that it literally, you can't even explain it. Like, it's just sort of impossible to explain when something's beyond words. What I call that, ineffable, I think is that word, isn't it? Right? Anyway, an hour or 2 maybe, and I heard movement coming down the hallway, and it was Maris, and he's like sat in the doorway, so the door was open, so he sat in the doorway, and I looked at him and he looked at me. And then I just explained to him my experience. I just started talking. And I said, dude, fucking hell, I don't know whether I'm talking to you now or whether we're elsewhere, but this is what happened. And I talked to him what felt like half an hour, you know. And he said to me, he said, I've just had exactly the same experience as you. What you just explained to me, I've just had exactly the same experience, right? So we're just like, whoa. And I guess now, I don't know, it's like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning or something now. And we're just sort of like, whew, trying to get it together a little bit. You know, we can swing our legs off the bed, we can get up, we can walk into the kitchen, and we are gone, like out of it. Now, that morning, I had taken a friend of mine to the airport in America. There's a girlfriend I was going out with at the time. And I took her to the airport. She was going back to America. So that was the morning of when we started doing the mushrooms at the night time. So this is the next day. The next day we're walking. I used to live in an area of London called Putney in southwest London. We're walking down Putney High Street, and I'm talking to Maris and he's talking to me. And I swear to God, we didn't know whether this was real, this walk was actually real, we're physically actually doing this, or we're still in another dimension dreaming that we're doing it in this dimension. Like literally, we just, you know, even though we can feel the physicalness, when you're in a deep, deep dream of consciousness, that can feel more real than any physicalness. So that's how we were. And we just didn't know. And I didn't know whether I dropped my girlfriend at the time off at the airport in the morning or whether I was in the dream still, whether I was still in the trip. And I have to tell you, it took us till about 6 o'clock that night, 6 o'clock that evening, to get some sort of semblance of normality, normal function, feeling sort of like, okay, you know, that's what it's all about. But the bottom line was, what did we learn from that? What did we learn? If this idea of having a heroic dose gives you the truth, well, the truth, certainly as I experienced it that day, truth's a funny word, isn't it? As I experienced it that day, was that all of this is a simulation. This is a dream, but it's a really, really, really effective, impressive dream. It's a really impressive simulation. It's so good, in fact, that it may as well be real, you know, because we are going to die one day in the physical body, and we do need to eat, and we all, you know, need to make money and life, you know. But it is a simulation, and that simulation is from the future, from a future us that's created this simulation for us to have a 5-sensory, 3-dimensional plus 4 dimensions of time experience through our 5 senses. That's what we experienced that evening. That consciousness, if for use of a better word, or information or energy or God or quantum field or, you know, whatever word you want to use, Akashic records, you can use any words you like. But that is really the real fundamental reality, that somewhere, somehow in the future, ourselves have gone through this evolution to millions of years in the future and recreated this for us to have a 5-sensory experience, to feel what 5 senses are like in a 3-dimensional world with the utmost polarities on this planet of good and evil, you know? And we come in here as part of that simulation to experience it. But again, that simulation is so good that it doesn't really matter, because in that simulation it's created that we are a physical being, then we are going to die after a period of time. But in this simulation we have free will, and we can make free will choices. We can be conscious and aware and make conscious choices, not just autopilot, subconscious programs playing out. So that gives us a little bit of a variability in the game of life that we're here to play, because it's not set in stone. Well, it sort of is unless you're conscious and awake, but you have conscious free will. You can make a choice to turn left or right. I can make a choice whether to pick this pen up or not. I can make a choice whether to set goals and go for it or not. I can, you know, you can do that. And that's it. That's the reason we come here, is to see what we can create. Literally the reason we come into this 5-sensory world through to have this 3-dimensional experience from our future selves in this Earth simulation is to see what we can create, to see how awakened we can become to the nature of our true self and what we can create in this physical world. That's the point of it. And that's the truth that we got from the heroic dose. I have to say, I would never do that dose again. Now, what's interesting is, in the morning, we looked at what was left. There weren't many mushrooms left. There were some left. And then, I don't know if it was that day or a couple of days later, it was a 20-gram bag. We ordered a 20-gram bag. So I reckon, by looking at what's left, we did 7 or 8 grams each. That's a lot of mushrooms. That's something I wouldn't recommend you do unless you just want to go for it. You'll be safe, you'll be all right, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you really want to, fly. But so we reckon we did about 7 or 8 grams of dried psilocybin each. And to that day, so this is 2024, so this is 2007, 2008, I've never done that again. I've done a lot of ayahuasca, I've done DMT, I've done all sorts, but I wouldn't do that again. There's like sort of no need, when you go so far, and it is a case, that's what it is. Fucking hell, I'm not just a physical body appeared through evolution and here I am for no particular reason. That's an old story. That doesn't work. The reason you're here is it's a simulation from the future. You've created it for you to have 5-sensory, 3-dimensional plus time experience to see how awakened you can become and what you can create whilst you're here, what you're happy with, how happy you can become. It's not all about goals and money and houses and this and that. It's what can you create for yourself? What sort of peace of mind can you create? How happy can you be in life? How much can you enjoy the ride with an awakened mind? And that seemed to be the purpose of this simulation we're in, from my experience and my friend's experience of a huge dose of psilocybin in silent darkness. Love to know your thoughts.